All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're unpacking a wild story that played out in just 1 week, a showdown between the White House and Wall Street. It's all about a massive political promise, an even bigger industry pushback, and, most importantly, what it means for the credit card rates you're paying right this second.
So it all kicked off with this incredibly bold, simple promise that just dominated the headlines. A mandatory 10% cap on every single credit card interest rate out there.
But the banks? Their response was just as fast and just as blunt. Absolutely not. They drew a hard line in the sand, and just like that, we had a major fight on our hands.
And after all that political drama, all the back and forth, where did it leave you? Well, for millions of Americans, you're still looking at a rate that's closer to 30%. So let's break down what really went down and what you can actually do about it.
Okay, so let's dive into the details and see how this whole thing just exploded. It really started with a single social media post that sent total shockwaves through the financial world.
So, picture this. January 9th, 2026. A post hits Truth Social declaring a brand new, mandatory 10% cap on all credit card interest, and it demanded this go into effect by January 20th. That's just 11 days. This timeline right here shows just how fast the whole thing escalated and then, completely fell apart.
So how did the banking industry react to this crazy demand? Well, their response was coordinated, it was powerful, and it was aimed right at you, the American consumer.
The bank's strategy here was pretty clever. They didn't argue about their profits. And by the way, a bank like JP Chase alone made over $12 billion from card interest last year. Nope. Instead, they framed this cap as a direct threat to you, claiming 175 million Americans would lose their access to credit. The message was crystal clear. This isn't going to help you, it's going to hurt you.
And then came the big pivot. Just a week after that first demand, a White House advisor, Kevin Hassett, goes on TV and completely walks it all back. All of a sudden, it wasn't a mandatory cap anymore. The new spin was about voluntary trump cards, this super vague idea with no legal power that, let's be honest, meant absolutely nothing. The mandate was gone, poof.
So here's the most important part. What happened after the dust settled? The political fight was over in a flash. The banks, they had won. But who was left paying the price?
This number right here. After that January 20th deadline came and went, nothing had changed for the average person. While Washington and Wall Street just moved on, millions of us were still stuck facing rates like 29.99%. The banks won, and consumers lost.
Let's really put that into perspective. What does a rate like that actually cost you? Well, if you're carrying a typical balance of, say, $5,000, a 29.99% APR means you are paying nearly $1,250 every single year, just in interest. That's money that does absolutely nothing for you.
But here's the thing. Here's the kicker. While the politicians failed to cap your rate, you have the power to do it yourself. You don't need a new law from Washington. You just need the right strategy.
Here is how you can get what they couldn't give you. And it's just 3 simple steps. First, you just search online for 0% APR balance transfer cards. Second, you apply. It takes less than 5 minutes. But here's a word of warning. For some of the absolute best cards, the application window closes in the next 48 hours. The banks do not want you to know about this. And third, once you're approved, you just transfer that high-interest balance over to the new card.
The impact is just massive. You go from a crippling 29.99% APR all the way down to 0% interest. A lot of these offers last for as long as 21 months. Think about that. For almost 2 years, every single dollar you pay goes to your actual debt, not to the bank's bottom line.
So what's the bottom line? On that same $5,000 balance, you could save over $2,000. And you're not just saving money, you're joining a movement. Just last month, over 340,000 people made this exact same move, wiping out what would have been $89 million a day in interest payments for the banks. You just gave yourself the rate cap you were promised.
So, after this whole whirlwind battle between Washington and Wall Street, what's the real lesson here? It's not about politics. It's not about bank profits. It's about who really holds the power over your financial life.
The events of that 1 week in January really forced us to ask a pretty basic question. Who is actually in control of your interest rate? Is it the government? Is it the banks? Or is it someone else entirely?
And the answer is crystal clear. This whole episode proves that the real power is in your hands. You don't have to wait for anyone.
You can use the bank's own systems against them to win. You can save yourself,